2, 3, 4.
Hello and welcome to the NESN Soccer Show. I'm Mark, here with Marcus, joined by Nicholas Goss, who will be with us throughout the World Cup as our coverage really ramps up here. We are in part one of our World Cup preview. That will cover groups A through D. We will do groups E through H next week.
Yep.
We lose track of how many letters there are. But Nick, welcome. It's good to have you.
It's great to be back. I always enjoy my time here.
Yeah, Nick is probably going to show us up. I'm not sure why we don't have you on the podcast more often. Maybe it's some sort of subconscious feeling of power we have or something. I
don't know where you're getting
Speak
that.
Speak for yourself. I'm always down for Nick Goss
to contribute
be on this podcast.
I'm happy too, especially since we'll be talking about France today, and Nick has a bit of a fanhood there.
They almost made me look good at the Euros. Almost. So close.
They'll probably make you look good again this year.
That depends on what you're picking France to do. They're not going to win the World Cup.
You know, Marcus, you've said so many very likely countries to win that will not win.
Yeah.
And
I see who the favorites are and who the bettors like, and I'm telling you, not going to happen. All right.
Well, it all begins June 14th, which is exactly 1 week from right now when we're recording.
Yes.
It all goes down. Russia versus Saudi Arabia, Group A.
What a great match to kick off the World Cup.
It'll be in Moscow.
Watch that one end up like 6-6.
Well, that's the thing is I think some of these lower profile matchups, not typically, but sometimes end up being the more exciting games. And for whatever reason, it just feels like Russia-Saudi Arabia could end up being a great party of goals to start off the World Cup. But Group A is Russia, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Uruguay. I guess Uruguay is the favorite, especially now with Egypt and Mo Salah's health kind of in question. Marcus, let's start with you. What do we like most about Group A? What's most intriguing to you?
Most intriguing, well, Uruguay is going to stroll to the top of this group because they are the only country, I guess, other than Egypt, with a top player or two.
Yeah.
And they also have the history in the organization, and they just generally know what they're doing at World Cups. Did you ask what I like most about this group?
Maybe just what...
I don't like much of anything about this group.
Second that.
This is one of the worst groups in World Cup history in terms of FIFA rankings. And I know FIFA rankings don't mean everything.
Yeah.
But my goodness, Russia, Saudi Arabia to start, that is the two lowest ranked teams in any World Cup opener by far. So what do I like about the group is that the worst game in the entire tournament based on rankings will be over, and we'll have the excitement of, it's the first World Cup game. We'll have that to cloud the fact that the two teams playing aren't that good.
Maybe we're lucky that will be clouding that fact.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd have to endure Russia versus Saudi Arabia.
Nick?
I think for me, this group and the excitement that it will or will not provide all hinges on Mo Salah being fit or not. If he can play all the group stage, I think Egypt will be exciting. I think him being in the World Cup will give some excitement and some eyeballs on this group. If he doesn't play, I think, as Marcus says, Uruguay will just roll through this group. They might, even if he does play. Luis Suarez, Edinson Cavani, two of the top strikers in the world. I mean, they're going to score goals and be fun to watch. Russia. It'll be interesting to see how Russia handles being the favorite. They didn't do so well in that in the Winter Olympics in hockey a few years ago in Sochi, so it's definitely a big challenge for them. I see Uruguay and Egypt, or Uruguay winning the group, obviously. Egypt, even if Mo Salah doesn't play, I think they still have a chance to finish second. There's not a lot of things I'm really looking forward to in this group. I think seeing Salah come back healthy from the Champions League final would be a cool storyline to follow.
Here is, sorry, Mark, do you want to go ahead?
Well, the one thing that really stands out for me is that Uruguay will roll through the group, and it's kind of, this is a best case scenario, not because it's an easy group, but it seems like they'll kind of get the chance to really get everything firing for them, so that when they enter the knockout stage, they are kind of they know what they're doing well, and they've had 3 high intensity matches to get ready to take on to warm up for the knockout stage. It was funny to say. And then of course, I think we're going to see Mo Salah, but I just hope everybody keeps in mind that he's just not 100%, and he's going to be out there, but I think he's just not going to be himself, and we'll be lucky if we get even a couple goals out of it.
That is the great shame of Group A, is that Mo Salah will not be fit and firing when this thing kicks off. That's the great shame now. I asked this question on Facebook and Twitter yesterday, and I asked it over the weekend privately, but I'm going to ask it here. What will Luis Suarez do to disgrace himself at this World Cup? I don't want to just, blow us too far off course. He cheated with the handball in 2010. He bit a guy in 2014. What's coming next?
Maybe some sort of gesture to the crowd. Maybe when they're playing Russia that really upsets the Russian people. Maybe it's something that we won't even necessarily see or will be at the forefront in United States coverage of the World Cup. But if you dig a little deeper, he'll do something to upset the Russian people. That's my call.
My thing is he will miss a very important penalty, and people will laugh at him because of his history, and it'll be even worse for him.
It'll be kind of karma sort of thing.
I think he'll either miss a penalty or he'll miss a chance that he definitely should have scored on, something that really contributes to Uruguay not winning this tournament.
Okay. Marcus?
I don't know, but I'm watching.
That's your most intriguing Group A. Is what's Luis Suarez going to do?
Yes. What is Suarez going to do to try and ruin the World Cup?
It seems like we've been talking about this for 2 years, but Russian hooliganism, do we want to hit on that in any way? I mean, the sort of threats in YouTube videos seem pretty serious, and now it's finally here.
Yes, but I don't see any of this happening anywhere near any stadiums. This World Cup is going to be secure in terms of security.
We saw that in Sochi. There were threats and possibilities, and Russia did a really nice job securing that.
ISIS is targeting the World Cup, but hooliganism, I believe, will take place far from the prying eyes of the worldwide media. In the woods somewhere or at train stations. But I do think it'll happen because hooligans have been training for this.
You can bet Vladimir Putin does not want to be embarrassed in any way by anything that could happen like that.
So it won't be anywhere near the stadium.
Right. All right, let's move on to Group B. Portugal, Spain, Morocco, Iran.
There we go.
Let's focus on Portugal and Spain.
That's the game.
That is the game of the group stage, it seems like, with everything else considered. And we get it on the first day, first day of full matches, I guess, on June 15th. I think everybody's focused on this match. I don't think it's going to live up to the hype, personally. Nope. I think it's going to be like a 0-0, 1-1 draw sort of situation if Portugal is lucky, or Spain will kind of just roll them over, because I'm not sure how good Portugal actually is.
I don't think they're very good. Interesting thing.
European champions?
Yeah, but
I'll tell you this: at the Euros, they had 1 win in regulation.
Yes.
Almost even the final and a lot of other games, they needed penalty shootouts, extra time. Other than Ronaldo, I don't see a lot of incredible talent on this team, and I think Spain would handle them quite easily.
And I'm going to eat my words, I'm sure, for questioning Ronaldo, but he's 33 and he just went through a Champions League campaign. Maybe he's a little tired. Maybe it's, a lot of miles on the old tires. What do you think, Marcus? Am I an idiot?
This is still the one tournament he hasn't won, though. Maybe that.
Well, I mean, I hate when people say that about the World Cup because it's
so tough to win.
It's the entire world.
Yeah.
Ronaldo's going to be fine. He will be great. And why'd you ask if you were an idiot?
Because I said that he might not be. He might not perform well.
He'll be too tired to ball at the World Cup? No, not a chance. This guy sleeps 10 hours a day.
Does he?
Yeah. He drinks 10 glasses of water or whatever.
Yeah. He'll be all right.
He is the most professional player.
He's on the CR7 diet.
Yeah. He'll be fine.
Uh-huh.
Nobody's talking about Morocco.
Yeah, I was going to say. Except for us.
Except for us. I have a feeling Portugal is definitely coming out of this group.
Oh.
I watched Spain play Switzerland on Sunday. And the Swiss team was absolute, they were terrible. Terrible, terrible. In Spain, I think they won 1-0 and kind of struggled to beat them. I'm not high on this Spain team at all. I see them possibly going out in the group stage again and Morocco sneaking by them.
Wow. I was going to say Morocco sneaking through the group, but at Portugal's expense?
No way.
So I guess...
So Spain flopped
Yeah.
utterly in 2014.
Right.
I mean, boy, they were terrible. Or not terrible, but yeah, they were terrible. They went out in the group stage. This Spain team, man for man, talent for talent, is nowhere near where they were 4 years ago. And I see some people have picked Spain to win it as the favorites.
No?
No. No. Something's... and I think they did, pretty well in qualifying, but...
Beat Italy.
Yeah, they don't have a striker, or a great striker. I guess Diego Costa's good.
In Spain's defense, they did play the Netherlands, Chile, and Australia in that group stage. It's a pretty tough group, 2014.
As a tough group, yeah. But they were the defending world champions.
And European champions.
Yeah.
And European champions.
Pretty good run.
So what I'm saying is that Spain in 2018 isn't as good as Spain in 2016, certainly not as good as 2014, and not even in the same sentence as those 2012, 2010, 2008 teams.
Well,
Same stratosphere.
Nick, you looking for any surprises in this group?
I don't think so. I think Spain is one of the better teams. I'm not saying they'll win, but I think they will get out of this group with little trouble.
I am expecting Spain to win the group, and Morocco. I think Spain will defeat Portugal in the first match, and then Morocco will tie Portugal and also tie Spain in the last match because Spain won't have anything to play for, which means I think Morocco will beat Iran to end up with 5 points, and that's how they'll sort of sneak through in not having to actually play Spain at sort of a full tilt situation, and they'll just sneak through, and Portugal just won't have the points. They'll end up with 3 or 4 points. They'll beat Iran, and they'll have tied Morocco, and that leaves them with 4. And all of a sudden, Ronaldo's going home.
I mean, I look at Spain. They have. I mean, David De Gea is arguably the best goalie in the world, top 3, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Piqué and Ramos, one of the better center back partnerships. They're going to have tons of possession with Thiago, Iniesta, Silva, Busquets, Asensio in the midfield. I think they'll score a fair amount of goals with Costa and Isco. Jordi Alba will provide plenty of pace on the flanks. I think they're a pretty good team.
Is Danny Carvajal playing? Did he?
Danny Carvajal, he is on the squad.
He is in the squad. Okay. I know he was injured. I
agree with Marcus that they're certainly not as good as they were when they were dominating in Europe, but I think they're definitely very, very strong, and I don't see them getting tripped up in this group.
Me neither. Well, Marcus, any last words for Portugal?
Yeah.
I don't think we're convinced.
No, I think Portugal's going to be in the World Cup final.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
Is this this all this time when you've been saying this team isn't winning, this team isn't winning? Do you have Portugal winning the World Cup?
I have Portugal in the final.
Yeah, in the final. I'm fascinated to see. We won't spoil the other final. You'll have to tune in next week for part 2 of the preview, unless it's in Group C or D. Maybe it is.
No, we'll see.
We'll
At some
find
point
out
in the next 7 days and 20 minutes.
Speaking of Group C and a favorite that Marcus thinks will not win the World Cup, France gets a pretty good draw with their group.
They do.
With Australia, Peru, and Denmark. I'm not sure what to make of Australia, Peru, or Denmark. I'm just confident that France will beat all 3 of them and be a 9-point team easily. But
France will beat Australia. France will beat Denmark.
Draw Peru.
France will draw Peru.
Peru's not bad.
They're not bad.
They're a talented team.
Peru's getting out of this group.
Yep. I would say France comfortably wins the group, and I think Peru, in my opinion, is a pretty strong favorite to play second.
Well, they got some good news with Paulo Guerrero being allowed to play after the sort of suspension fiasco that he went through. I'm not sure how much details we want to get into, but
we did on a previous episode.
Last week we kind of broke it down.
Was that last week?
Maybe it was 2 weeks ago.
Might have been 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
But he'll be there, the all-time leading scorer of Peru. If he and captain, if he hadn't been there,
I mean, he took it to the Swiss Supreme Court.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
Dedication up there.
Yeah,
sounds like a movie to me.
Yeah.
And it's the first time Peru's been in the World Cup in 30
Since 1982.
years. Yeah. So if he hadn't been there, this guy that's kind of
he's their captain and their leader.
It kind of would have been a real letdown, but it'll be exciting to see him compete. I hope Peru makes it, mainly because we got a little taste of Peruvian pride and fanhood at the Copa America in 2016. They came through Gillette and beat Brazil.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I've ever seen a happier group of people than
and the next year they qualified for the World Cup. I mean, this Peru team is to be taken seriously.
For sure.
Australia, oh boy, I don't really know I don't see much of Australia.
Not much going on for the Socceroos.
Yeah, they've had some good teams in the past, but you know, with Tim Cahill still out there, still playing big role.
Right.
I just can't. I predict bad things for Australia. 3 and out.
He kind of reminds me of like a Clint Dempsey type, where he's just stuck around, and he was great at one point, and at some point somebody should have overtaken him and just forced him out of the roster, and it hasn't happened because they don't have anybody else.
Clint Dempsey 5 years on.
Yeah, so it's just kind of writings on the wall. It's probably not going to be a good campaign for them.
Yeah, Denmark. I'm interested to see what Christian Eriksen will do.
Sure.
You know, had a great season at Tottenham. He's had a good past few seasons, and he's really blossomed into a very good attacking midfielder. I wouldn't put him at the top yet, but very good attacking midfielder, and I think he could have an excellent World Cup. Denmark will be without Nicholas Bentner, I believe. Which,
former Arsenal man.
Yeah, which is a little sad because he was a bit of an X factor, which is somebody that can score goals against legitimate competition if his head is in the right place, which is a 10% chance of happening, but you never know.
Kasper Schmeichel is a pretty good goalie too. You know,
yes,
we saw what he did with Leicester City a year or two ago, winning the Premier League. So I mean, he gives them some stability in the back. But I mean, I don't think they're going to be just a team that people are just going to completely walk over.
Right.
But I don't see them.
Australia is the walkover.
Yeah, I still don't see Denmark.
Denmark will put up a fight.
Yeah.
France.
Let's talk about France beyond just this group. Unless what did you want to say?
Do you have anything to say about France? Or can I just say why they're not going to win the World Cup?
Sure.
France, in another tournament, is taking their team without Karim Benzema. And say what you want about the player, and say what you want about his quote-unquote character. Karim Benzema has won 4 Champions League titles in the last 5 years as the starting striker at Real Madrid, of all places, which is, if you slip even the slightest bit, they ship you out of there. France is leaving him at home for the 2nd tournament in a row. I don't know if he was there in 2014. I think he was. Pretty sure he was.
He was?
But France is leaving their star striker at home over issues that I can only over non-sporting issues.
Yeah.
And when you do that and you go to the World Cup with Olivier Giroud as your starting striker, as a suffering Arsenal fan, you're not going to win the World Cup, just as they didn't win the European Championship on home soil. Had they had Benzema, you think they would have scored against Portugal?
Maybe.
Yeah.
My thing with Giroud is he plays really well for France.
Sure he does.
Scores a decent amount of goals. Antoine Griezmann, I think, will play ahead of him. We know Griezmann is one of the best strikers in the world. He scored a lot of the Euros, did it in the final.
Would you rather have Giroud with Griezmann playing off him, or Benzema with Griezmann playing off him?
I'd rather. No, I agree that Benzema should be here, no question. But I
this
think
is sports. If you leave your best players
right.
at home,
I mean,
you don't
Benzema
win.
should have made the team.
Yeah.
But
there's no sporting reason why
right.
he wasn't on the team.
But I don't think goal scoring will be an issue for France because Griezmann can score, Giroud can score, Lamar is dangerous, Kylian Mbappe is one of the best young players in the world.
Yes, X factor.
Sure. Florian Thauvin, I think, is a really good player. Paul Pogba can go forward. Matuidi can go forward. I think they won't have trouble scoring goals.
I wonder, though, with leaving Benzema off the roster, if it's just an isolated one-player thing that's like, all right, he's just not coming because of personal things with him, or if it's something that would have affected the entire team and that's why he's not on the roster, in which case it's maybe a good decision that he's not on the roster.
Addition by subtraction?
Sort of. I mean, despite the talent, just there's something that we don't know about that's going on that was causing strife or would have caused strife within the team.
I mean,
I'm not buying that.
It was a pretty controversial move to leave him off the 2016 Euro squad, and they obviously did.
There was a long story, but it was basically over. He was accused of being complicit in a blackmail plot with one of his French teammates. He's since been exonerated, and he's been exonerated and he's clean, because if he was not, do you think Real Madrid would have stuck with him?
Probably not.
This is Real Madrid we're talking about. Yes, it's political, it's social, and I think it sort of exposes the fault lines in French society between the Britons and the Gauls and the North Africans and the Southern Africans, and yeah, France is going to pay for it again. Well,
Benzema appears to be on a very extravagant
Stick to
vacation.
sports, France.
So I don't think he. Well, yeah. I'm sure maybe he minds, but he's spending his time wisely. What do we think about? Well, Nick, we know how Marcus feels, but what do you think about France's chances to win the tournament?
I believe, and Marcus, correct me if I'm wrong, if Spain, Germany, and Argentina win their groups, and France also wins this group, France will be on one side, and those three teams will be on the other side.
I'm not currently in the position to correct you because I don't have a bracket.
I saw a video yesterday of Jose Mourinho picking his winners for the groups, and he had those four teams winning, and if the draw shapes out like that, France is on their own side. And we saw in the 2016 Euros that Portugal was on a very favorable bracket. They didn't really have to go through too many elite teams. I think Belgium was by far the best team they played.
They also played a very good Wales team.
True. So France can be on one side of the bracket by winning their group, and Argentina, Germany, and Spain winning their groups on the other side. I think that they certainly can get to the final. I think they can get to the final anyway. I think they have very few weaknesses, especially going and learning how tough it is to win a major tournament in 2016, and now they come back with a pretty similar team. I mean, Loris is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Griezmann, Mbappe, Lamar, Giroud, these guys can score goals. Yeah. Their midfield is...
Who's on their back line?
Besides TD and Varane.
Too young. This France team is 4 to 8 years away from winning the World Cup.
You don't think TD and Varane is top 2 or 3 center back tandems in the world?
No.
No. The fullbacks,
because Koscielny would have been ahead of one of them.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, Koscielny, before he went down, he was starting center back for France. He marshaled them to the.
Honestly,
he marshaled them to the final game of the European Championship just 2 years ago. Yeah, I think this tournament has just come too early for France's young guns. I see them reaching quarterfinals, semifinals, and then, was Waterloo? Waterloo wasn't in Russia. Where is Waterloo?
Somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
Is there a better midfield trio than Pogba, Kanté, and Matuidi? Maybe Germany?
Modric, Rakitic, and whoever else Croatia throws out there, among others.
Well,
I think the last point I'll make
Pogba, Matuidi, and who?
Kanté. pretty good.
It's pretty good. Germany's probably got a better one.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean they're good. They're excellent. Going forward, I see weaknesses. Defending, I see weaknesses.
I think for me, sorry, Mark. Last point I'll make about France is if they don't make the semifinal, I think it's a big disappointment.
If they don't make the semifinal, Zinedine Zidane will be their coach by August.
That would be great. I would love Zidane to be the coach.
Yeah. We know it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, for sure. But for me, I think the sort of X factor is
or
Mbappe.
Arsene Wenger.
Like Mbappe can sort of launch himself into a top 5 player in the world sort of conversation if he can have a big tournament. And I think when I look at what I'm most excited about with France, it all comes down to Mbappe because this is his first chance to really do it for France.
And announce himself as...
Yeah. And
this is his first major tournament, and he's under the microscope, under a lot of the spotlight is hot. You know, I look at what he did for PSG in those games against Real Madrid. Who did PSG play before then? Oh, they went out in the round of 16.
Yeah.
You know, and I just have a feeling this tournament, even for a guy like Mbappe, who some people believe could rival Pele or be, you know, in the pantheon of greats, I don't know if we'll see the best out of Mbappe. You know, France, every now and again they implode spectacularly, and
2010.
Perhaps they're due.
well, it would be like it's just
Every other major every other tournament, really.
It's a pretty big tournament for Paul Pogba too.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be
see
honest.
how he works with all
Pogba will be
those.
very
He was not
good.
very good for Manchester United this year, or at least not what a $90 or $100 million player should be. And there was talk in France about maybe him not starting, but I think that's not going to be the case. I mean, he's definitely going to start.
It could. I mean,
He needs to have a good tournament.
Yeah, he has to have a good tournament, but it was so many sort of star power players that you don't know exactly how they're all going to work together, and it kind of goes both ways. You guys are both on different sides of the realm where you think they're going to burn out, or you think they're going to put it all together. And if they do put it all together, it could be a little surprising how easily they might move through the tournament if everything's like sort of firing on all cylinders. And I think it's kind of similar to what we said about Uruguay, where the group could be a good staging area and time to put everything together.
Yeah.
Where by the end of the group stage, I think regardless they're going to be advancing, but you're going to have a really good idea of just how well they could do in the knockout stage. And I think their biggest match is against Peru on June 21st. That's when I'll be really focusing on, because it's a chance for Peru to kind of announce themselves as, okay, we could make it the quarters or the semis or something, and it's a chance for France to say,
Whoa.
nope, and you know, you're not ready, you're not good enough to compete with the best in the world.
Yeah, France-Peru will be, that's one of the top games, at least on this, in these first 4 groups. That's probably it might be the second best game that we're looking at. Well, we haven't gotten to Group D yet.
Marcus, do you think France has the highest ceiling and the lowest floor of the top teams?
That's a great way to put it.
Because I wouldn't be so shocked if they got beat in the round of 16 by a team they should beat. I also wouldn't be shocked if they win it.
Of all the top teams, the highest ceiling and the lowest floor.
Yeah.
Higher ceiling than Spain. Higher ceiling than Uruguay.
I'm not sure, does Uruguay
Certainly
get
I'll
into
give
that?
them the highest ceiling. And because of the expectations and the pressure, yeah, I think that floor is low. Even if they go out in the round of 16, they're going to get slaughtered when they go home.
Sure. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even if they go out in the quarterfinal, they're going to get, you know, and I think they reached the quarterfinal last time and were, you know, well received when they got back. Deschamps kept his job.
Yeah.
High
expectations. It's tough. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Only 14
semifinal or bust.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be too much for this group.
And even, you know, to go one step further, it's like you reach the semifinal, and if you lose like a 4-0 to Germany or Argentina or somebody or Brazil,
Don't come
that's
back.
not good enough either.
Yeah.
But speaking of Argentina, let's talk about Group D. For whatever reason, I am so fascinated by Group D because you've got
Iceland.
You've got Lionel Messi. Croatia's very good. Nigeria is part of the African teams that everybody's just waiting for an African team to really break through.
No, everyone's excited about Nigeria because they have the best uniforms in World Cup history. Period.
Do they? By the way, Waterloo.
They are very good.
I meant to say this. Waterloo is in modern-day Belgium.
So I wasn't even close.
Yeah. So, but back to Group
didn't
D.
Napoleon invade Russia at some point? I don't know.
And they all invaded each other.
Yeah. Group D has the other World Cup finalist.
Ah,
there we go.
So you just want you want the
Ronaldo Messi.
star-studded.
That's it.
I'd
I'm going
be-
all in
Marcus,
on
I
the
hope you're right.
Argentina.
I
I mean,
hope you're right.
I haven't sat down with my calculator and my abacus and my pen and paper to really predict. But I had a vision fairly recently, a couple months ago. I've spent the last 4 years trying to predict this tournament, and of all the major tournaments that I've covered, certainly for NESN.com, and there have been many, this is the hardest to predict. I've been racking my brains, and then it came to me: Messi, Ronaldo in the final.
Written in the stars.
What else could it be?
Yeah,
And 9 billion people will tune in,
it'd be awesome.
even though there's only 7.5 in the world.
That could bring some people from the dead.
Multiple TVs and
Yeah,
households.
yeah.
Aliens watch.
Yeah, it'll be the biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
And Argentina, Portugal in the final. We're going to settle this for good. Period. Continue.
Well, I guess it all sort of starts in Group D.
Yes.
I do expect Argentina to move through this group. Everybody's so high on Iceland. I don't expect them to advance. I think it's going to be Argentina, Croatia.
Who's high on Iceland?
Yeah, Twitter people.
They're a popular.
They're popular.
Okay, they're popular.
The clap.
Yeah, who's high on them
I mean-
who's high on them to get out of this group? Who's high?
No,
I actually think they're going to finish. I think they're going to finish fourth, quite honestly.
Yeah. Look who's in this group.
I think Croatia will finish. I think Croatia has a fairly good chance of finishing first. If they draw Argentina or if they beat them, 1-0, 2-1. Nigeria has a lot of talent as well. A lot of guys who played in some big European games. John Obi Mikel, Victor Moses, Alex Iwobi. I mean, these guys have played in Europe, played against tough competition. But I think Croatia is very good. Argentina is obviously very good. I think those. I'd be shocked if one of those two teams doesn't make it through.
Yeah. You talk about Croatia, you talk about Nigeria, and I don't mean to bring it back to Argentina so quickly, but they just seem like kind of afterthoughts, and it's another situation where I'm going to be intrigued by how Argentina is playing, how Messi is, or how the rest of the team is sort of fitting in with Messi, and how it's all working. And also sort of how Messi is being used. Is he going to be just sort of patrolling the midfield at a slow jog for 70 minutes, and then the 20 minutes that the ball's at his feet, he's high motor 100%? Or is he going to be sort of plugged into a system where you just have maybe a high press or something going on where Messi's just sort of part of it as opposed to being the vocal point of what's going on with Argentina?
I would think it's the former, not the latter.
And I'm not sure that's best for them, though, because that's what I feel like we've seen with Argentina.
With a team that has high expectations, I have a feeling they're going to be sort of playing one way and then developing their style to peak in the last 8, last 4 final. I think however they play against Iceland will not be how they play against Nigeria, or it'll be dramatically different than how they play against Nigeria. Argentina, Croatia, that could decide the group.
Game. Yeah, it's a good game.
There are 2 teams. I want to get away from Argentina for a second. There are 2 teams who, if only their federations could get right. Croatia I didn't read the story, but Luka Modric was just indicted for perjury based off for something that happened with the Croatian Federation. I had an argument with a Croatian recently. Their federation has essentially been in the grips of the Croatian right wing of their political spectrum, which, politics is seeping into sports in a way that is going to undermine that team. And it's a shame because there's so much talent. But yeah, the players are going to be put under undue pressure. The coach will be put under undue pressure. And that's why I see Argentina having it a little bit easier than we expect. On paper, people see this and they're like, hey, this might be the group of death. But Croatia's going to be, I see problems ahead for them because it won't take much to destroy the spirit in that camp. Nigeria, I hate to say it, but there's always sort of organizational issues with top African teams where a lot of times politics seeps in. You've got divisions between maybe local players and players who are playing big time clubs in Europe. You're used to being treated and traveling in a certain standard in Europe when certain things are taken care of you that maybe it doesn't happen in the federation. So I could just see Croatia and Nigeria underachieving. That doesn't mean Iceland's going through, but it's sad because both these teams have a lot of talent. But it's going to make it a little easier than we expect for Argentina.
It's interesting you bring that up because Argentina itself has had those issues in the past with their federation kind of getting in the way of the performance on the field.
Yes.
And I guess no news is good news that nothing has really come out with Argentina in
except for
regards
yesterday.
to that.
But that
What happened yesterday?
Yesterday, Argentina canceled their last pre-World Cup friendly because they were supposed to play Israel in Jerusalem, and there's still some...
Right.
We're not sure why it was canceled, but it was canceled.
That was politics seeping in, but I'm not
sure
but
that's not local politics, within Argentina's federation, which I'm not sitting here and saying they've sorted out their issues.
Maybe they're sort of banding together.
Fairly certain they haven't, but this group of Argentina players has lost so much in the last, 4 years, I guess, since 2014. They lost in 2014 in the final, lost in 2015 Copa America final, lost 2016 Copa America final. And they all know this is our last chance to win together. So I have a feeling this dressing room will be united in a way where they're going to block out all the rest of the noise and really go for it.
And one interesting thing that I see with Argentina, they have, I would say, the most attacking talent in front of any team. I mean, Messi, Aguero, Higuain.
Even more than France?
Dybala. Yeah, I think they do. From a striker standpoint, more proven talent at least.
Sure.
We don't know what Mbappe will do. We know Aguero is a big game player.
Higuain, Aguero. This is all Messi supporting.
Hopefully
Higuain
doesn't blow it.
In 2014, they had a 1-0 round of 16 win over Switzerland, a 1-0 quarterfinal win over Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't score any goals against the Netherlands in the semifinal.
That was when Angel Di Maria was injured.
They won in penalties, and then they didn't score at all against Germany.
Di Maria is the X factor here. If he can stay fit through this tournament, which he wasn't able to do in 2014, didn't do that in 2015. I don't remember what happened in 2016, but it seems like every time Argentina reaches the knockout rounds, Di Maria picks up an injury, and it really hampers. They'll reach the final, but if you have a player like that available, that's the difference between winning in regulation or extra time and losing on penalty kicks.
Well, Marcus, what's your take on their defense and goalkeeping? I've never been a fan of Nicolas Otamendi. I don't think he was worth the big fee. Mascherano's had some great moments, but he's one of the older guys now, mildly. So
Argentina defensively, I don't even know who they're going to have out there. I know their goalkeeper, Sergio Romero, was injured. I don't know who's going to start for them.
Maybe it'll come down to
Could be Caballero. Wow.
A best defense is a good offense, and it just the defense just has to do enough in certain moments to keep the ball out of the back of the net, and the offense will maintain possession, will be in control, will put them in positions where they're up and the opposing team has to change their game plan and sort of turn into an attacking mode that isn't as fluid as they want it to be.
Sure.
Makes the job easier for the defense.
Yep.
I think that's kind of what has to happen. If they do end up in one of these knockout stage games and it's 0-0 into the 70th minute, that's when you're really in trouble as Argentina. And that's when you start seeing Messi maybe trying to do it all by himself. But there's a chance that with that attacking offense that they never really end up in that situation, at least not until like the semifinal or final.
And they'll have guys they can bring off the bench. I mean, if they bring Paulo Dybala off the bench, I mean, that's what a great player to come off the bench. And like you said, Mark, teams are going to play more defensive against them to account for Messi, and Aguero, and Higuain. So I think that will help them.
Yeah, Nick, I don't have an answer to your question. I know Argentina doesn't have sort of individual big names, great defenders, but I think they've been sort of around in collectives for so long.
Good chemistry back there.
Yeah, good chemistry, good understanding, and they could be greater than the sum of their parts, which are, on paper, not impressive. Because if you asked me to name Argentina's back four, like, thanks for giving me Otamendi, I would I think Marcos Rojo is in that team. And
he is on the squad,
didn't play a game for Manchester United. I don't know. But, rhythm, routine, chemistry, understanding, I think that's more important to preventing goals than having big names who get paid a lot.
I don't think Argentina will win, but I will say I hope Argentina
will win the group.
No, I'm talking about the tournament.
Oh.
I hope Argentina wins. For months I've been talking about who the hell am I going to cheer for at the World Cup. I've decided it's Argentina. I'm pulling for them. I want Messi to win a World Cup. I think it's sort of the most realistic feel-good story possible. And I think that they will make the semifinal at the worst. And obviously they're good enough to win the World Cup. I don't think they will. But if you want to know who I think will win, you'll have to tune in next week for part 2 of our preview.
All right. I guess I showed my cards too early.
You did, Marcus.
Yeah.
But
Which
Nick,
it's very unlike me.
I know. You typically hold it down.
Yeah.
I think, Nick, did you say that you think France is going to win?
I think France will beat Germany 1-0 in the final.
Well, I'm not revealing what I think. So I guess
Moscow.
I'll keep things going for us. But, all right, anything final to say about Group D before we sign off?
Group of death on paper, but I don't think in practice that'll be the case.
I think the quality of play will be really good in this group. I'm going to enjoy watching these games.
Yes. Definitely going to watch probably more Group D games than I probably won't watch the ones involving Iceland because everyone else will, but the other ones are.
I think for those casual fans out there that have decided that Iceland is their team, I would readjust. I would readjust. But
let's just say I'll be watching the worst 2 teams in this group, Nigeria and Iceland, play, and I will not be watching the Group A teams, the worst Group A teams. By the way, Saudi Arabia and Russia.
I think I guess I'm just a fanboy, but I'll be watching every match possible.
Me too.
But because you just never know what's going to happen. That's what's so great about the World Cup. It's fantastic. And I'm so excited that we've done this podcast. We're doing another one on Monday. We will also be ramping up our video coverage on NESN.com and on our NESN Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. Marcus will be front and center, our star. He's already done one interview with Cheddar. Watch out for that.
Yep, that's coming next week.
But, stay tuned in with us. If you're listening on YouTube, check us out on iTunes. Search NESN. Follow the NESN Podcast Network where you can get all of our podcasts. We'll be back kind of as frequently as we want. Whenever we feel necessary to talk soccer throughout the World Cup, we'll be able to come in here and light it up. But this was Groups A through D. We got the second half of groups coming next week. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Nick, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Bringing it.
I'm looking forward to our coverage, and see you next week.